Thank you, Ms. Reed. And thank all of you for sharing the celebration of Women's History Month and allowing me to spend a few minutes with you this morning. I know that Women's History Month is a month-long celebration of the contributions that women have made to history and culture and society. And I believe it was started in 1987 to celebrate in the month of March. Ms. Reed asked me to share my story of becoming a community college president with you, including any obstacles that I may have faced along the way. Well, that's a pretty tough assignment for me because normally I'm talking about you, students, and your pursuit of education and how proud we are for you to be at Wallace Community College. Or I'm talking about our wonderful, committed faculty and staff who help you along the way to student success. So please bear with me. This is a pretty tough assignment she's given me. I'll begin by telling you a little bit about my background. I grew up in Elba on a farm. My mother was a seamstress, a wonderful seamstress, who started work in a sewing factory when I started to school. And I'll tell you that I didn't inherit any of her sewing expertise whatsoever. My daddy was a farmer and a mechanic, and I didn't inherit any of his mechanical skills either. But I could not have had better parents. I was a first-generation college student, the first in my family to attend college. And my parents wanted me to have an opportunity for an education, an opportunity that they had never had. They taught me the value of an education, and they taught me the value of hard work. My daddy was an avid reader, and my earliest memories go back to my early age of sitting in his lap, and he read to me every night. And then I also remember standing by my mother at our sewing machine at home as she sewed, and I pretended to teach her. I had a little chalkboard that I used. So I guess that I knew then that I wanted to be an educator. I was lucky enough to get an academic scholarship to Enterprise State Junior College. In fact, those were the days when community colleges ran buses. So I rode the bus from Elba to Enterprise and back every day. Now let me tell you, it was a fun time riding the bus because most of the basketball players rode that same bus, and I was a cheerleader, so it was a fun time. But being a community college student is where I fell in love with community colleges and what community colleges are all about. I knew my instructors and they knew me. It was a very important part of my life. And I knew then that I wanted to spend my career in community college education. And being a student at a community college was a wonderful foundation for me, and it really set the tone for what I do in my job now. After receiving my associate's degree at Enterprise, I graduated from Troy University with my bachelor's degree, and I taught 2 years in K-12 and completed my master's degree from Troy while I was working on while I was working at Enterprise State. When I was at Enterprise State, I taught business and I directed a cooperative education program. But I had several other different jobs. I worked with our career programs at one point. I set up a career development center, which was my all-time favorite job, I'll have to say, because we took an empty room and had computers for students to look at career opportunities and decide on their major. And also we did job placement, so that was a very, very enjoyable job. I also established and worked with our college foundation, which raised money for student scholarships. And as you know, we have 2 foundations at Wallace Community College who do that very same thing, raise money for scholarships for students. While working at Enterprise State, I was able to complete my doctorate at Auburn on a program called Alternative Residency, where you go 2 consecutive summers, and take at least one class during the year in the spring and fall terms. But then I took a leave of absence and I moved to Montgomery to work in the office for the community college system. This is the system that oversees our system of community colleges. At that time, junior colleges, community colleges, and technical colleges. I was executive assistant to the chancellor who oversaw all the colleges. I learned a lot in those 3 years that I worked in the system office in Montgomery. I gained a broader perspective of the Alabama community college system. I learned how to be more effective in working with legislators. And I benefited from having mentors who helped me and a peer network of people who shared advice about professional opportunities that I might consider. I learned also how much our colleges differ, although we're in the same system of community colleges. Some are urban, some are rural, some are large, some are small, and our student demographics differ greatly. I was able to observe leadership styles of presidents when I worked in that office. And I learned that strong leaders come in many shapes and forms. Some strong leaders are outgoing in personality, and others not so outgoing. Some of the presidents were well-seasoned presidents, and some were new in their jobs. At that time, there were 32 colleges, community colleges, and 30 of those had male presidents and 2 had female presidents. That was in 1987. I also learned a valuable lesson in that I learned I do not want to work in that system office. The people were wonderful, but I did not want to work there because I never saw students. I never got to share in their accomplishments and observe them as they reached their goals in education, and as a result had a better quality of life. So although I had taken a leave of absence from Enterprise, I did not go back to that college. I went to Lurleen B. Wallace Community College in Andalusia as Dean of Academic Affairs. And then after about 6 months, the presidency at Sparks State Technical College in Eufaula came open. And I loved LBW. I really didn't want to leave, but I knew that I wanted to be a president. And when you know what your career aspirations are, you really have to consider timing, because timing plays into having those opportunities. And I felt like my timing was right for a presidency. So I left and applied for the presidency at Sparks State Technical College. I want to tell you a little bit about that process. This was in 1988. There was a selection committee that interviewed all those who were qualified for the job, and they selected 3 to be forwarded to the chancellor and the board of trustees for further consideration to be the president. There were 9 members of the selection committee. All members of the selection committee were male. Interesting. I don't think we would see that today. But I was fortunate enough to be one of the 3 finalists for the position and was selected for the position. I was the 3rd female appointed in the system of community colleges, but I was the first female to be appointed at a technical college in our system. That was 33 years ago. I wanted to share a few experiences with you that I encountered along the way. I wouldn't be honest with you if I told you that my gender was not an issue in some situations after I became president. Perhaps because the college was termed a technical college had something to do with that, because technical, that word, conveys the meaning of being non-traditional for women. So I think the gender issue maybe was a little more emphasized by being at a technical college. Not long after my appointment, a man somewhat upset called the switchboard at the college, and he told the operator that he had a problem and he demanded to speak to the president. The operator said, "Okay, sir, let me place you on hold and I will see if she is in." And he said, "The president's a she? You must be kidding." And he hung up. And then there were comments like, "I can't believe they've put a woman in as head of a technical college. What is the world coming to?" And then I'll never forget a visit that I made to a local industry. And I tried to tour all the industries in the area because it was important to connect the college to business and industry. As we were going on the tour, the female director of human resources was giving me the tour. And as we walked along, she stopped in her steps and she looked at me and she said, "You know, I really hope that you're going to do a good job as president." Now, her subtle message to me was that everyone was watching me to see if I, as a female, could hack the technical college presidency. I felt placed under a microscope with little margin for error. The extra pressure to prove myself was evident. In the beginning, I sometimes felt I wasn't regarded simply as an individual. I was regarded first as a female. And if I failed to measure up, the observers would regard this as proof that a woman just couldn't do that job. And with success, I think women are often viewed as exceptional. Now, I believe these are isolated comments and situations. Generally, there was support and acceptance as the college moved forward. However, I will say that I felt somewhat isolated professionally early on by being one of 3 presidents in the Alabama Community College system. I was surrounded by males in similar positions, and it was sometimes difficult for me as a female to determine whether the problems that I faced day to day might be related to gender or whether they were just problems that were par for the course for anybody in my position. That feeling has eased through experience and time. The support system is now much stronger in our system for each other, male or female. Male colleagues even call me for advice and direction on certain issues. In the first few years, I thought, though, things are improving on these gender issues. About that time, and I think it was the late 90s, I went to a president's meeting at Joe Wheeler State Park in North Alabama. And when I went down for breakfast that morning, I noted that the presidents had been given an area of the restaurant to meet together to eat breakfast. So I went in and I sat down with the other presidents. When I got settled in my chair, this waitress came over and whispered in my ear and said, "You might want to move to the other area of the restaurant where the wives are sitting." And I said, "I think I will just sit here with these guys if that's okay." I never did tell her any different, but that was kind of a shock to my system. And then I have to share this one with you. This is one that needs to be written in a book somewhere. The custom in the community college system is for the current president of the President's Association. A different president serves each year as president of the President's Association. And when there was a retiring president, the custom was to present that person with an engraved watch. Well, we had the first retirement of a female president that summer. And would you believe the president of the association, who was male, presented the retiring female president with an engraved man's watch. And he didn't recognize the error he had made until she was opening the gift box in which the watch was contained. So I've always thought this is one for the books. Well, in 1999, Sparks State Technical College in Eufaula was merged with Wallace Community College in Dothan, and I was appointed president of the merged institution. And with that merger and other mergers that have occurred even since that time, the number of institutions now is 24. So numbers of colleges have been reduced through mergers. Things are much different now. Much progress has been made in gender equity, more to come, but there are now in our system of community colleges, 9 of the presidents of the 24 institutions are female, and that's 38% female presidents in our system. And nationally, 30% of the community colleges have female presidents. So Alabama has a higher percentage of female presidents than nationally. And interestingly, at Wallace Community College, 68% of our students are female, and that number almost completely parallels our number of full-time female faculty and staff at 67%. I know that education is the ticket to broader career options, opportunities for advancement, and higher paying jobs. I know you know that. Each woman's journey is unique. In addition to getting that degree or credential, there are other things that you can do to prepare yourself to get the jobs that you want now or in the future. And I thought I'd just share a few tidbits that I think are important in terms of advice to those who are looking for promotional opportunities or looking for jobs. One is that whatever you plan to do in life, don't just listen to your head, but listen to your heart. Your heart is the best career counselor ever. Most people work about 25 years of their lives. And it's important that you love what you do each day, that you love to come to work. Now, every day is not always exciting, or it's not always, might have to deal with problems, but you love what you do. As the people here at Wallace Community College love what they do in serving students. I know that most of you have already decided on your major, and you know the career field you want to go into. Some of you may not have decided on a major, and that's okay. The main thing is, though, to start thinking about it and exploring different career fields, because the choice of your career is one of the most important decisions that you will ever make. Also, it's important that you learn about the responsibilities and the duties related to the position to which you aspire. Look at promotional opportunities for women. Talk to women in that profession. Having mentors is very, very important. And cultivate an image by publicizing your skills and your accomplishments, and pay attention to details such as professional dress and good grammar usage and attitude. Attitude is so very important. And finally, don't ever stop learning. We have to be lifelong learners, all of us. We don't want to get caught in that trap that we've learned all we ever need to know in college, because we have to keep up to date and current in technology and in trends of our chosen career field. And keeping current can make you stand out and keep your brain active. I want to commend you on your pursuit of education, and I am proud that you are with us here in the Wallace Community College family. You'll be successful, and remember, the only thing that ever sat itself to success was a hen, and you're certainly not sitting at all. You are pursuing your education, which opens many, many doors to fulfilling and well-paying jobs that will benefit you for life, for you and your family. So thank you for allowing me just to have a few minutes with you as we celebrate Women's History Month.